This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at @BackupBradleyAbove at the top of the screen and everything that we're talking about here today. So let's go ahead and set it off because I believe we're not far from the crypto market setting it off. I want to celebrate you guys as I told you I would. Check out the links in the description box and the comment section, one of them being the Unstoppable domain link. And you guys have been coming up with incredible .cryptos. I think this is a new asset. This is a new asset class of .coms and .cryptos. It's exactly like that, only we're talking about immutable ledger and being able to receive direct payment. It's pretty remarkable. And Unstoppable just recently, by the way, has it so you can set up through Chainlink and verify through Twitter account names. Pretty amazing what they're doing over there. Here's some really great names from Ministry of Crypto, one of the audience members. He says here he has healthcareusa.crypto. Whoa! I think that's a fantastic one. Investinstock.crypto. I think that was even better. So shout out to you, Ministry of Crypto, and he has a couple more. If you're interested, you can reach out to him. And if not, maybe it just gives you an idea to inspire you to be creative and to go figure out your own .cryptos that you could get. I know I have a couple. I'm excited about worldtravelblog.crypto. I have that one, and I'm very excited. I know travel.com back in the day sold for tens of millions of dollars. Now, I'm not expecting that per se for .crypto, but I would think somebody would want it. So there you go. Let's get down to it. We got a lot of really fantastic news, and I know that things feel unsettled in crypto, but I think we're going to look at some stuff that really at least calms me and gets me very excited. Calms me in a way that I'm not concerned that we won't reach the end goal of getting that clarity and that international level of participation. I think we're right on the edge of that, the precipice of that happening. Let's start right here from XRP Crypto Wolf, hedge fund billionaire Paul Tudor Jones says Bitcoin rally is only in the first inning. Yeah, that's how I like to start the news this morning. Shout out to Paul Tudor Jones. He sees Bitcoin as an attractive inflation hedge. Jones said he's even more bullish on Bitcoin and lauded the intellectual capital behind it. Shout out to Paul Tudor Jones, who's a famous investor and has done extremely well predicting and forecasting markets. Now, looking ahead here, Goldman Sachs will settle a massive corruption case for $2.8 billion with the U.S. government. Goldman Sachs has agreed to settle with the U.S. government over its role in corruption Malaysian government investment fund. Okay, so let's just hold up for a second here because I just had this comment that I commented on Michael Arrington, and shout out to Michael Arrington, who we interviewed for Cryptonaires. And he had made a post about, corruption and all of this happening with central banks, and I'm paraphrasing, and I made the comment that, yeah, I believe they really started to lean into it, didn't they? At $2.8 billion. Yeah, you really started to lean into that. So what I think is, kind of ironic about all of this is that, they tell us constantly that cryptos and Bitcoin and these things, it's all for nefarious activity and it's pirate money that can be used for illegal things. And you know what? Is nothing's being used more for illegal things than the banking system and cash itself. So there's no greater sign of that than some of the greediest people in the world right here with Goldman Sachs. So let's keep that moving because it just tells you we need an immutable ledger to keep track of that ass. Digital asset manager Grayscale Investment has acquired an additional $300 million in cryptocurrency in the last 24 hours. $300 million in the last 24 hours. Come on in. I can remember just a handful of weeks ago, their assets under management were $4 billion. It's 7.3. Just a handful of weeks later. Are we seeing a trend? Are we seeing the money move? Are people understanding what's happening in the traditional markets and realizing that stocks are overbought and starting to move into this space? I'm just sharing perspective about what I see. This is not advice. PayPal wants to buy cryptocurrency companies. PayPal has been holding talks cryptocurrency custodian BitGo and could reach a deal within weeks, talks could still fall apart and PayPal could opt to buy other crypto companies. This is another huge signal. I have talked about this many, many times, where you see these different waves of acquisitions, mergers, and partnerships. And more as this happens, you're going to see it is the traditional and legacy firms that are coming in and doing these things. Make no mistake about it. PayPal launched in 98, and they came out of the Great Recession in 08 like a shining star, right? And then bought Venmo or launched Venmo. I know they own Venmo at this point, and that was in 09. Then we saw SquarePay come out in 09. Well, these fintechs that emerged or either moved through in a very strong way, as PayPal did, through that crisis, that time of crisis, right? And I mean, that's an important thing to understand, is that, I just had this talk with Miguel Villas at Lunch and Learn this past Tuesday. And we talked about metals as a hedge, cryptos as a hedge, and fintechs in time of crisis are also seen as a place of high ground. Again, not advice, but just evaluating the history of markets thus far. So really something to pay attention to. And I would encourage you guys to go sign up and register with Link2, download the free app, and become a part of that community. You have to be an accredited investor, but it's okay if you're not at this point. You can still be a part of the community, so make sure you do that. All right, so here we go here. Eurosystem created a strategy for new comprehensive oversight framework embracing new digital assets, products, and players preparing for digital euro issuance. Well, I thought they were just mulling this over. Remember, we're retail investors and speculators. This whole, well, it's looking like 23, 24 and all of this business, they're preparing for digital euro issuance, deploying instant payment methods throughout the entire euro area. Shout out to the ECB and the whole euro, EU. I mean, this is, pretty remarkable to me. Because when you see these things, when they were just not long ago, we're taking public comment on this, Christine Lagarde, and all of these things, when they're taking public comment behind the scenes, you need to understand, no matter what part of the world you're in, when they're taking public comment, they have privately already decided what's going to happen. They just try to make you feel good. All right, let's keep this going here, because there is a narrative that's beautifully tied in here today, I believe. IMF CBDCs give more control, but don't solve every problem. Whoa, don't we know it? Hello, XRP. The IMF envisaged a series of stablecoins launched by big tech firms which could peg to fiat currencies. only to later switch to an unbacked status once critical mass had been achieved. Now I'm going to read that again. The IMF envisaged a series of stablecoins launched by big tech firms which could peg to fiat currencies at launch, only to later switch to an unbacked status once critical mass had been achieved. First of all, we're seeing the ECB talk about issuance of the digital euro. We're talking about the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, talking about their plan as they see it for a world release of stablecoins, a series of them launched by big tech firms, which could be pegged to fiat currencies, only later to be switched to unbacked status. Then we come here domestically in the States. Imagine if there was a single token that was recognized on both sides of that divide when you receive it, and you can cash it out into your local currency, and when I receive it, I can cash it out into my local currency without the need to change it. Shout out to Julian Flash for this one from a couple days ago from Brian Brooks. I want you to pay very close attention to this. The EU, the IMF, and Brian Brooks here in the States, all carrying the same narrative here. And you think about that, because what he described there to me when I heard it was like, my goodness, if I didn't think any differently here and know any differently, I think he was describing at least one of the aspects and attributes of the XRP token in the ledger. Well, you know what's funny about that is, let's hear what Miguel Villas said about this when I had a chance to talk with Miguel Villas. Shout out to him and Julian Flash for this little clip here.
Global markets. If you had to just, what does it sound like he's describing there to you?
I know.
Sounds like to me.
He's designing one of the base cases for XRP is what he's describing. But look,
there it is. Now listen to what else he says here.
Look, and I used to say this at Ripple, and I'll say it here, and I'll say it forever. It doesn't have to be XRP. Like that, you can do that with any cryptocurrency, but you're going to be hard pressed to find one that's better suited for purpose than that.
Well said, Miguel Villas, former global head of XRP markets, and absolutely put it out of the park right there, and had put it out of the park in his tenure there at Ripple, and shout out to him. And you know what's interesting about that is that even more to extend and build on his point here, there is not another token nor company that has worked any closer with regulators than Ripple with XRP, period. Full stop. That's it. Therein lies where's the clarity? We need the regulatory clarity, right? Where, Brad Garlinghouse, guess what we still need? Wait for it. Regulatory clarity. I think the token is this important, and it will have such a special designation. And not just because it is XRP, but because XRP will fall into this special designation because of what they have designed it to do. And if some other token comes out and can serve in that role, let's say like Stellar, it will fall and be in that same designation as well. And my point is that I've always said on the channel, and I'm going to say it again right now, XRP is not just another digital asset. It's a digital asset that's going to be a part of the framework of this digital asset space. And what we're seeing here from the IMF and from Brian Brooks is we're seeing that talk. We're seeing that narrative be carried from the international level to the domestic level. And that's very exciting to me to see that kind of level of consistency and verbiage and understanding about where we are and what needs to happen. That to me is extremely exciting. So let's keep this moving here. IBM getting back to boots on the ground. IBM partnered with R3 for enterprise blockchain. IBM will offer R3's Corda solutions to its clients. Corda Enterprise will be deployed on IBM Linux One across the hybrid cloud on premises. Especially in the area of crypto asset custody. So here we go. Custody, interoperability, the working together, the crossing these networks up. If you don't get the notion that not only are we seeing a cohesion in the narrative internationally and domestically for regulation and the understanding of what needs to happen with the framework, I see that. And I just showed it to you. I really do believe that. And then I believe we're seeing here the market infrastructure that has been built over the last several years actually tying into the other pieces of market infrastructure and letting you know that this entire system, this is one highway being connected to another here. It's remarkable. Here we see even more trends of that is happening as well. Citibank is observing emerging trends in enterprise. Citi's head of financial market infrastructures said that Citi has multiple DLT projects in productions and others in progress. Listen to this, from post-trade processes and trade finance to tokenization. What are we talking about here? It's exciting. This is what they're working on because they know that the day is going to come. They're not working on this because it ain't going to happen, right? They know it's coming, and I think it's going to come a lot quicker than any of us could even imagine. Crypto firm Ripple is considering, while all of this is happening, relocating to London. And then there's another article that says they're also considering going to Japan. Here's what I would say to that, and I want to put a point to this really quickly here. Ripple's headquarters is in San Francisco. Now, they also have an office in D.C., and then they have offices in Singapore and Japan and all over the world, right? They have offices everywhere. What I would say to this is simply this. You know, if it's for regulatory clarity that they want to move, I don't think they need to move because I think they're about to get it. And I think I showed you the consistency in the narrative of understanding domestically and internationally that there needs to be something that sits between as a bridge currency, and there's nothing more suited. I think you will find that it could certainly be any other token, just as Miguel Villas said, but I don't think you'll find anything more suited or compliant than XRP. But with that being said, now, if Ripple wanted to move because of regulation, I don't think they're going to have to. So I think it's hold on just a minute here. I think you're going to get what you need. Especially now that we're seeing more motion, clarity, and understanding of what is needed. And I think we're going to get it. But however, if we're talking about moving out of San Francisco because the tax structure for businesses is horrible, well, then I'd say get the hell out of there. Maybe go to Wilmington, Delaware, where you can get real corporate tax break. You know, if that's the issue, then go ahead and roll. If it's regulatory clarity, hold the phone. Because the reality is that all these other places that we tout for regulatory clarity being so far beyond where the U.S. is, how come they're not using XRP to full scale for its actual intended use beyond retail speculation? I just think that's a great question. And I've read the hundreds and hundreds of comments over the last week on each video, and actually closer to thousands of comments at this point. And no one seems to be able to answer that. Anyway, finishing on a strong note here, the world just gets bigger because we got to take it to outer space. Microsoft partners with SpaceX to connect Azure cloud to Musk's Starlink satellite internet. Hello, hello, hello. The new internet getting a facelift, right? Microsoft is partnering with SpaceX to connect Azure cloud computing network to the growing Starlink satellite internet service offered by Elon Musk's company. The partnership comes when Microsoft expands into space industry, with the company a few weeks ago unveiling a new service called Azure Orbital to connect satellites directly to the cloud. Come on in. It goes on to say a couple other points, but that's going to do it for me. Keep your eye on the ball, ladies and gentlemen. This is a pretty exciting time. I really do believe that we are a designation away from watching this asset be adopted en masse by the largest entities in the world. And when they do, I do not believe it will be a small event. All right, hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Make sure you share with somebody you know. And absolutely check out those description links or links in the description and the comment section. There may be something there you want or need. And everybody have a wonderful day. I'll catch you on the next one.